Okay, on this next one, what we're going to do is we're going to look at this equation and we're going to figure out the discriminant. But before I can do that, I have to move everything to the same side. So anytime we have an x squared or higher in the equation, we always want to move everything to the same side to see if we can factor it or see if what we can do with it before we try anything else or fast tracking it or doing any other type of thing with that particular equation. If we just have an x there, then we just solve for x right away. But in this case now, and we also want to put it in the right order. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move the x squared over. So I have x squared plus 3x equals -7. I'm then going to add 7 to both sides. Of course, I can only combine like terms. So I get x squared plus 3x plus 7 equals 0. Now what I do is I check the discriminant. So remember the discriminant was that b squared minus 4ac. So we have our a equals 1, b equals 3, c equals 7. I didn't write those down. I'm going to get you used to doing it on your own and kind of writing that down. And I'm just going to plug them in as we go. So we have b squared. So we have 3 squared. Notice I put it in parentheses. Minus 4 times 1 times 7. And so 3 squared, of course, is 9. 9 minus 4 times 1 is 4. And then 4 times 7 is 28. So remember, I only multiply these two together. And then when I get a result there, then I multiply those two together. I talked about this in a video, in an earlier video about that was a mistake because some people were doing 4 times 1 and then 4 times 7. No, that's not what you do. So we have 9 minus 28. That equals -19. What that tells me is I'm going to have 2 complex conjugate solutions. Okay, that's what I'm going to have. So now I know the discriminant. So now it says, does the number of solutions match the information provided by the discriminant? So we want to solve it. So now we want to solve everything. So remember, I have been solving them a little bit to a certain extent, but I have not been using the quadratic formula. So now I'm going to use the quadratic formula. So to use the quadratic formula, I'm going to write it down. X equals minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. I should have been putting parentheses around these things. Just cleaner. God. This pen doesn't work very well, so it doesn't look very clean. Okay, there we go. That's a little better. So we have minus b plus or minus b squared, square root of b squared minus 4ac. Remember, this is called the discriminant that's underneath the square root. Okay, so now we've already calculated this. So we figured out that was -19. So that means that x equals, and then we go back up to the equation to see what b was. Remember, b is this term right here. So it's 3. So we have -3 plus or minus the square root of -19, because I already figured that out, all divided by 2. And then we go back up and look at the a term, and the a term is the number in front of the x squared. That would be 1. So that is -3 plus or minus, and I can take out an I from that square root of a -1, square root of 19, all over 2. And then what we do is we check to see, does 2 go into both of the numbers that are outside the square root, which is the -3 and the I, and the answer is no. So therefore, there's my answer. But you can see that they're conjugates. -3 plus I square root of 19 over 2, and -3 minus I square root of 19 over 2. So does the number of solutions match the information provided? I said we're going to have 2 complex conjugate solutions. There's one solution, there's the other solution. The only difference is the change in the sign of the I term. So that means they're conjugates. So that's what I've got, is 2 complex conjugates. And then the next one we're going to go through now and do some of the problems, examples, exercises, and then you should be able to start your homework, your exit ticket, and your homework assignment.